want to learn more about Fractional CFO services, Ascent, you're in the right place. Don't. It's still going to be interesting. I promise. I know it doesn't sound CFOing might be interesting, but it's super exhilarating, especially if you're a CFO and you can help founders.
Hi, Sharks. My name's Caroline Creidenberg. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I'm here today seeking $200,000 for 5% of my company.
Wow.
Shark. Wedfuly helps plan and produce elaborate, engaging, creative, and virtual, yes, Sharks, I said virtual, weddings. We handle the tech so that our couples can handle the love. But this is... So we kind of ran with it. I hired a team very rapidly and had a lot of fun growing. And we had, this whole sector of couples whose weddings were disturbed by the pandemic and needed us. And then this whole other, we call them our Plan A couples who just were like, screw it, let's get married this way. And at first it was like, oh my gosh, money's coming in. We have more money than we know what to do with. We had to pay taxes for the first time. And that's when we switched to accrual because it made more sense. And I didn't know how to do any of that. I was just blind, leading my team of blind. So having them there was helpful. And then, you learn things the hard way, but we kind of talked about, and I'm sure we'll touch on the less you can get down that rabbit hole and then have, if I didn't have to go through a lot of those, bleeding cash doing layoffs, that was a huge distraction for our team in a lot of other ways. It was obviously a really good learning experience, but if I had pulled in people to help me earlier, I probably might have avoided some of that, not all of it, because you can't avoid all the distress while running a startup. So having them really integrate into the team has been a huge help, and that's that falls on you too as the entrepreneur. They can provide their service, but you have to make sure that you are working with them towards the problem. They're not just going to blanket solve any problem because it's your company and they need to be embedded with you and help you, and that's what Ascent does a really good job of.
And there is therapy.
That's optional. Do we charge for that? No. Different rate? No? Okay. All right. Yeah, lots of questions.
You may have a good sense of your current financial status, your numbers and everything, but we do a lot of prep work with our clients, help them put themselves in the investor's shoes, because a lot of us have been through that both on the buy side and the sell side. So they know their business the best, but it's how you tell that story, and a lot of it is marrying the numbers to the story and the story to the numbers in a way that investors like to digest things, and that could make all the difference in the world. So
you just need somebody to help you bulletproof that pitch deck and ask the questions and say, why do you think that? Why is that your assumption? What's the KPI that's behind that? And go through that just like an investor would.
So that's a great question. So the question is around the evolution of a company and what the CFO's role is throughout that evolution. So there was a slide that we had up a couple of minutes ago, and that slide kind of showed those different stages. So we definitely, a fractional CFO or a full-time CFO or a full-time accounting people will have different roles as you go through this trajectory from sort of raising your first round of capital to scaling revenue to eventually maybe having an exit. And so we find that we will staff that company depending upon what the needs are. So we might start out with a senior accountant and a CFO with a little bit of oversight. Then they reach another level, and now you need more CFO oversight because you're starting to raise capital. You're starting to, the new board of directors requires different types, more KPI reporting and things like that. And there's certain people who are really good at the role, right? You can be a very qualified CFO or very qualified controller, but it takes a special kind of communicator and a special type of DNA to be able to be fractional, because you have to be able to do that mode switching quickly, right? You're going to switch from SaaS to oil and gas to CPG, and so it takes kind of a special type of that.
So what lights me up is working with innovative entrepreneurs and helping them through their entrepreneurial journey. So for me, it's helping guide them through the complexities of corporate finance.
And I think really what I enjoy is when the light bulb goes on. You can almost see the switch go on in somebody's head when I have a customer right now that I've been working with that they were spending double what they expected to in their cost of goods. When you pointed that out, and their jaw dropped. I mean, they didn't even realize it, but the stress that was putting on their working capital and on the entire company was palpable. And sitting down with them and being able to say, okay, now let's talk about how we control that. And each week we go through it, and now it's under control. They can see it, they understand it, they can forecast it, and it's completely changed their trajectory and what they're now trying to bring on board in terms of sales.
I think for me, my heart, much like Maris, is with the entrepreneur, but I know that a lot of entrepreneurs can't afford a full-time CFO, and that is so. I either go big in corporate, or I find a way to get down into the roots. And fractional's the way that I've found to get to the one-on-one, to be in the trenches with the CEOs, where they can be very vulnerable and intimate with their financials and their business model and the risks, and they can be safe and have an advisor. And it's not just a therapist, it's a financially minded individual that has best practices, that have been working at IBM and investment banking and the most powerful, institutions out there, down into the weeds. And so that's what I love, that we can get to you as an entrepreneur.